Happy Halloween, everyone. I'm back, and yes, I'm still in the spirit. Anyway, say hi to Mr. Jack-o'-lantern. I'm sure you recognize him. Anyway, I have a question for you. Do any of you have a gaming-related holiday tradition? If you do, I would love to hear it while I share it with you one of mine. As I'm sure you can guess, I don't get out much during the holidays, and today is no different. I'd much rather get cozy and creeped out in the darkness of my room than do anything too wild. And that's what I've been doing for most Halloweens as long as I can remember. So one of my favorite ways to get into the spirit is to sit down in front of my computer, turn off the lights, and get cozy while I browse my gaming library for something sufficiently scary. In the past 3 or 4 years, though, the game that I've chosen to play every Halloween has remained consistent: Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now, full disclosure, I was extremely late to the game with this franchise. I mean, my only experience with it was the remake, and that was like 2 years after it dropped. It became one of my favorite games ever, and honestly, Resident Evil became one of my favorite franchises ever. I mean, the games are wild, out there, scary, emotional. I mean, they are a roller coaster every single time. So, Resident Evil 2 Remake became that consistent Halloween game for me. And I always look forward to playing it this time of year because it's just so much fun, and in a weird way, a cozy little experience that never gets old. This year, though, I decided to switch it up a bit. I mean, I'm so in love with Resident Evil 2, but my only experience with it has been through the remake. I know, fake fan, so I thought, hey, why not give the original a shot this time around? And I'm so glad I did, because the original Resident Evil 2 stands so separate from its remake. I mean, it's almost a different game entirely and has given me the opportunity to experience one of my favorite games ever in a completely new way. It was a fever dream, and I loved every second of it. The game is, first and foremost, gorgeous. It's from an era where the technology to make something look ripped from reality didn't really exist yet, so the way I look at it is these designers needed to get extremely creative with the ways that they brought us into their worlds. And this game is that creativity working full speed ahead. I mean, look at it. The bright and vibrant color palette works in stark contrast with the grotesque imagery, beautiful enough to keep me locked in, even when something as ugly as a shambling zombie is finding its way towards me. Nothing looks realistic, but the art design has a unique sense of style that ensures it doesn't blend in with the rest of the flock. Every backdrop's its own work of art too. From the police station to a random hallway you'll find yourself exploring. I mean, there's such a human quality to their creation that I couldn't help but be impressed no matter how mundane. The game seems to put its own spin on the visual conventions of the time, and it is all the better for it, because almost 30 years later it still looks incredible. And then there was this whole idea of the fixed camera angle situation, and I just gotta say, that wiped the floor with me when I first started playing, but soon enough I became acclimated to the disorientation and came to love it. It honestly just adds something so cinematic to each scene. I mean, you could tell that each frame is thought out so that it would evoke fear, tightness in your chest, and curiosity even. What's around the next corner? What awaits me behind the next door? If I investigate these noises through the hallway, am I just putting myself in danger? Spoiler alert, probably. And in these moments, your only real choice is walk forward and hope for the best. Each new location you enter leaves you off balance, somewhat confused, unprepared for what might come next, and the only way you'll know is to face it head on. The overall experience was just so frightening, so claustrophobic, that I really just felt trapped at times. It was beautifully done in my opinion. And though that design decision might not sit right with everybody who plays it, it certainly sat right with me because it was just such a unique gameplay experience. It brought so much tension to each moment of the game because I just didn't know if the next step I took would be my last. Maybe I should play more old games, or maybe Resident Evil 2 just knew what it was doing. I think Resident Evil 2 just knew what it was doing. Then you have the controls, which, let me just say, brought me to the brink of throwing in the towel and turning off the game on more than one occasion in the beginning. I mean, they were absolutely wild to get the hang of. Once I finally got to control Sir Leon Kennedy, I realized my first battle wasn't going to be the zombies. It was going to be the directional pad on my controller and my sense of movement. It was just so wild to have to rewire my brain like that. Don't get me wrong, I grew up playing a lot of video games, but they have come such a long way since 1998, and I forgot how much controls have evolved since then too. And let me tell you, this one right here, it was a doozy. Until you get the hang of it, controls are not fluid at all. Like, they are so clunky. Imagine this. Every time you're walking along the street and run into a wall and you have to adjust yourself accordingly, you can't do it smoothly. You have to pivot, move forward, pivot again, and move forward. I mean, it is crazy how tough that can be. In Resident Evil 2, movement is a slow, painstakingly frustrating process if you don't work to really get the controls down. I mean, by the time I made it far enough in the game, I was juking in and out of enemies without much thought, but there were still some tight spots where I felt that smoother movement would have made the game a little less frustrating. And then there were the combat controls. Be prepared for that, because in this game, shooting at a group of zombies is about as dangerous as running right through them. It's because it takes time to set up your shot. It takes effort to put yourself in a position far away enough from the enemy to avoid direct contact, but close enough so that you will hit them once you take the shot. And when you're low on health, haven't saved in 30 minutes, and running out of bullets, that's the kind of thing that can get you sweating. And it got me good on a number of occasions. Trust me, I'm all for the whole tough controls add to the tension, give some weight to the terror, because they certainly did. I had to really think about an encounter before diving in, which was fun at points. I'm just saying, I was really not prepared for the whiplash that came with such a control scheme. But figuring it out was satisfying, and really I think it works more in its favor after spending some time with it. One last point I want to hit on is that this game is weird, like very, very, very different. I like to make the comparison to the film industry in the 70s and 80s, back in an era where studios weren't afraid to try things. There were still hits, of course, but that was before the powers that be were truly able to take advantage of the blockbuster or even a franchise. That's how it felt to play Resident Evil 2. It felt like Capcom was trying something. The story is your classic tale of corporate greed leading to a zombie outbreak, but the way it is dressed up brought so much character to it. I'd compare the performances to a B-movie. Not bad, not amazing, but good enough and a little silly at times. Then you look at the character models and animations, which I will say are certainly from 1998. And then there's just this weird, trippy, psychedelic undercurrent through the rest of the experience that is hard to ignore and great to see. And that's what I think gives Resident Evil 2 the edge. It's just all this weirdness just feels so intentional. Like every quirky design choice seemed to have a reason behind it. Every odd new level or strange new character just kind of made sense, I guess. Strolling into the sewers for the first time, for example, I was not prepared to be faced with a couple of giant tarantulas chasing after me, but there they were. And I was certainly not expecting that I needed to worry about a giant alligator crocodile once we dove a little deeper. Or how about this whole idea that there even is a level deeper, only accessible if you can complete a very specific set of actions over the course of a few hours in a police station nonetheless. It's just so wild that this game worked, but it worked so well. And real quick, to dip back into the visuals for a second, part of what made the experience so different for me was how bright so much of it was against the backdrop of evil. I mean, we're playing a game clearly trying to tell an adult story with moments that are absolutely disgusting to witness, but there's almost a fun quality to the art style that just enhances that. It was amazing. A nice refresher from the current onslaught of Unreal Engine 5 games and new low-poly retro blasts from the past we've been faced with recently. It just really came together to create something extremely unique, and I'm so glad I got to experience it, finally, for the first time. Well, those are my thoughts on the original Resident Evil 2. I thought it was an amazingly original experience, even in an age where the remake exists and is amazing all on its own. It is a horrifyingly beautiful, clunky, and extremely weird game to play, and I'm so glad that I did. Because what I thought might have just been an old game with antiquated design choices became an original gameplay experience with intentional design choices behind its existence. It was tough, but it was rewarding, and I can't wait to play it all over again next year. Anyway, that's all I got. If you guys have any thoughts on it, please share them down below. I'd love to hear them. For now, I'm Comp Graphics. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.